Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, that is why I'm here. And it is about the highly controversial Nolan Wells case. So, y'all know I got a lot of yapping to do. If you've been following me on TikTok, we've been talking about it a little bit, maybe a lot of bit over there. But I don't think we've ever really sat down and had a YouTube type yap session about this case. So, let's get right into it. If you are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit the sub button. We're on the road to 25,000 subscribers, and I appreciate all the support. Make sure you hit the like button as well. 25,000 subscribers is huge, man. We've been growing so many different platforms, and all I can do is really appreciate it. I got on X maybe a month or two ago, and we're at 3,000 supporters in the Yap community. YouTube, we launched it back. For the ones that know, we used to be back on in 2020. That's what had the channel grow crazy. Then we shut it down, some life changes, and then we brought it back in January 2026 this year. So it's been crazy, man. TikTok is absolutely going crazy. So please follow me on all the different socials. You got X, you got TikTok, all of that stuff. If you want to support the channel, you can always go to buymeacoffee.com. You'll find Jay the Yapper there as well. You can become a member of the channel too, and become part of the Yap family. But without further ado, I want to dive straight into this case. So we got Nolan Wells, a teenager, college kid, I believe, that on 4th of July went out to Horns Island with his friends, and he wound up missing and unfortunately passed away, died. He washed up on shore. They found his body like 2 days later or so. This obviously sparked a lot of controversy because immediately people saw this picture of Nolan Wells on a boat with his friends. I can actually pull up a thumbnail really quick so you can see the picture that I'm talking about. I should have already pulled it up, but I'm sorry. I got a newborn. I had to change my shirt. He threw up on me twice already. So forgive me. But this screenshot right here, you can see this one right here where you can see Brandon Tatum and Nancy Grace. But you see the screenshot right here of Nolan Wells and 3 of his buddies. So that's what really popped off this whole thing, because it was about Nolan Wells, the only black kid that went to Horns Island with his white friends, and his white friends came back home and Nolan Wells didn't. So they must have did something. And that's where it started. And obviously it blew up from there, because then it got very controversial, and it turned into an absolute mess. But Officer Tatum has, a lot of people don't like him, and I'm not even a huge fan of him as well. There's a lot of different things that I started to turn away from his content when he started to get like heavy Israel, and then like Charlie Kirk investigation is in a limbo. And so, I don't even prefer his content either. However, you can't just avoid the truth. If somebody has good content and provides different perspectives, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? Whoever is on the side of truth, we were on the same side. That's the side I'm gonna be on every single time. And so once everybody started accusing these 3-4 boys, Nolan was his friends, of doing something to Nolan, Officer Tatum went down to Mississippi, to Horns Island, and ended up interviewing these boys. And when he interviewed these boys, we got another perspective that the mainstream media wasn't providing, which is, if you're going to accuse these boys of murder, then let's hear what they got to say of what happened, right? And no, they never was on mainstream media. They was just being accused by implying from his parents and Ben Crump as well. Nobody actually said that person did it, but they were insinuating or implying that they had something to do with his death. So that's just as bad. And we never heard from him. But Officer Tatum went down there and we got their side of the story. And man, it is totally different than if we were to just listen to mainstream media, or unfortunately, Nolan was his parents and Ben Crump. So we got from his friends that they said they weren't even on the island when Nolan was last seen. I would say they weren't even there. So this whole time they made it seem like, I'll be honest, when I first clicked on the story, I saw Ben Crump's face. I immediately was like, I'm good. I don't want to be race baited and all this other stuff, because that's what they do. We're gonna get into it. But I saw his face and I was like, this is gonna be some BS. But then I saw everybody talking about it. I click on it. I'm hearing their version of the story of what they're investigating. And they genuinely made it seem like these 3, 4 boys that Nolan went on the island with, they went by themselves, right? By themselves to the island, just the 3, 4, 5 of them. And then the three or four of them went home. And then Nolan was the only person that didn't come back on the island by themselves. This was their solo group, like a small group individual event. Then that's when I hear Officer Tatum go down there and interview these boys, and they give their side of the story. And they're like, bro, look at our security camera footage of the house. It was 30 of us that left the dock, 10 people per boat. We had 3 boats. Then when we got to the island, it was thousands of people at the island. Thousands, right? Thousands. Hundreds of boats lined up. We weren't the only ones there. So immediately when I heard that, I said, whoa, that changes everything, bro. Because now it went from these 3, 4 boys and Nolan, however many of them was, let's just say 4. Okay, so I can stop saying 3, 4. Let's just say it was three of the white boys and Nolan. Let's say 5. Okay. They made it seem like the 5 of them went out to the island and they did something. And then the 4 of them came back and Nolan was the only one that was left behind. So immediately when I heard the different perspective in the different setting, I said, whoa, that's totally different. That's totally, because now you're sitting here trying to tell me that you're painting these boys as being like super criminals that would do something in front of thousands of people. That's crazy, right? Them by themselves, different conversation. Accusing these boys of doing this with thousands of people around, crazy work. Okay, so that was the first thing. Then they go into describing what happened that day, and they talk about how everybody went to the island. Again, it was 30 of them in the friend group that left from the house. They showed the security camera footage, which also was crazy because, again, they made it seem like it was just those 5 boys. 4 boys, 5 boys. I don't know. Somebody's going to tell me. And when they get out to the island, they're having a fun time, whatever. And the next thing you know, they said that something in the boat, which keeps the water out of the boat, came apart, broke, got loose, whatever. Water started coming in the boat. So they had a boating emergency where they had to leave the island early that day. And they told Nolan that they needed to leave, and Nolan wanted to hang back with a girl. And they did. And Nolan, they kept trying to say, Nolan, get on the boat. We dipping, we dipping, we dipping. And Nolan said, nah, I'm good. Mind you, these are college kids, so drinking is involved and all of the other stuff. Normal behavior, normal things. They leave the island. Nolan hangs back with the girl. A couple of people see Nolan last, and then next, he goes missing or whatever. But I'm like, whoa, that's a totally different narrative and story. That is very normal. They had a boating emergency. They left. Nolan wanted to hang back with a girl. That's not crazy. He's a grown man. Like, he might be a college kid, but he's still grown to say, yeah, y'all 4. Got to keep in mind, it was 30 of them that left the house. He knew everybody, but he was closest with these 4 boys. And that's why he was on a boat with them. But they left. So it's not like he didn't know anybody that was on the island. So when I heard that, I immediately was like, no. Ben Crump and whoever's pushing this BS, you're losing me, because this is a totally different situation. So, Officer Tatum gets that side of the story out, and we learned that these boys truly had nothing to do with it at all. They had nothing to do with Nolan's death. And that was just a whole thing. Then they tried to pivot. But the biggest thing out of this case is that they turned it into a race war, a race baiting. They hired a civil rights attorney, Nolan Wells' parents. They hired a civil rights attorney, Ben Crump and Al Sharpton. So that's when I started to wonder, like, bro, why are these people everywhere, bro? Like, if this is about your son and about justice for your son, why am I seeing Al Sharpton and Ben Crump on my TV screen every day, and you're not really talking? It's just them. And I want to play a few things that made me just question, because obviously you want to extend your grace and all of this stuff to Nolan Wells' parents, but eventually you have to start questioning what's going on here when you see Ben Crump and Al Sharpton on every single TV and news station speaking for Nolan Wells' family. So I want to pull up Sharpton. I want to pull up some things really quick. Let's see. I want to pull up. I don't want to pull up like long clips. Let's pull up some. Okay. Like this, for example.
Too many questions that they should not be closing the investigation. This does not smell right. So some people are saying, Reverend, are y'all bringing in race? Well, we're not bringing in race, but we're not discounting race either, because we don't know what it is. So to tell us don't rush to judgment saying it was racist is fine. But then I'm telling you, don't rush to judgment saying it was not racism, because we do not know the history of
No, see, so we live in 2026, okay? So for the first thing to jump to is racism is crazy. What if, right? What if something truly just happened to Nolan, but it wasn't out of pure racism? What if Nolan got in an argument with some boys? What if he got in an argument with those boys? And something went left and something went wrong, and Nolan was tragically killed. You know what I mean? Hypothetically speaking, that's not racist. That is a tragic accident. So that's when they started losing me, when I was like, hold on, how did this turn into racism? How did this turn into Nolan Wells is no longer here because he's black? That's when I'm like, oh man, the victim mentality, bro.
Mississippi is something that they don't just read about in books, but it's a lived experience for many Black Americans, that oftentimes when our children are killed in highly questionable situations, that there is this notion that, oh, it was nothing wrong, no foul play, let's just sweep it under the rug. Well, we refuse to sweep it under the rug.
And nobody's sweeping under the rug. The investigation is not even over. They were if these people gave the state of Mississippi time to investigate, that's a totally different situation. The investigation was complete. It was ruled an accidental drowning. And then they're like, I'm not going for it. Then they go from there. Okay, that's a conversation. But to say that they're sweeping it under the rug as if everybody is already like, oh, we got to cover this up. Everybody on the island, get your stories together. The state of Mississippi, the coroner, the medical examiner, everybody get your stories together. Sweep it under the rug. It hasn't even been complete. The autopsy just finished 2 days ago. That hasn't even been released yet. And they're immediately jumping straight into the victim narrative. Then the second thing is, why is it that in a situation like this, they assume that, oh, this black child was done dirty and it had to have been racist and that's why he died, all this other stuff. But when you think about like statistics, right? Statistically speaking, a black person is more likely to fall victim to another black person. That's just how it is, right? But none of these things they're talking about, do they ever apply or go to the hood or go to these different places where there's a lot of black on black crime, or just address the issue of black crime? That's just normal. They just, oh, another day as a black person getting gunned down, teenagers, kids, not just another day. But when a black person dies, unfortunately, with white people involved, they immediately go back to history and saying these white people must have just snatched him up because he was black. Not because of an argument, not because something could have happened, but because he was black, they sought out to kill him because of his skin. That's where they have me, bro. And that's where I'm like, the race baiting and all this other stuff. Sure, you might not be coming out straight up saying, yeah, bro, these boys is racist. You ain't gonna say that because that's a straight lawsuit, but you're implying it, right? If you're suspicious that these boys was racist, then you're still somewhat implying that you could have been racist. When in reality, it's like, no, that's not a possibility at all if you can't prove it. Do not label somebody a racist if you ain't got nothing to back it up, bro. Don't just say, well, history. What? Okay, so according to history, again, I should be more afraid of my own skin color and people that look like me. If we're talking about history, I should be more comfortable with white people than black people. If we're talking about history, then the people that Nolan Wells saw last, or the people that saw Nolan Wells last, there were black people on the island as well, outside of Nolan Wells. So if we're talking about history, those should be the first people that you talk to. Because guess what? You're more than likely to be a victim of black on black crime than any other crime as a black person. So according to history, the first person you should have called, the first group of people you should have called was every black person on the island. But you ain't gonna do that, are you? That's not gonna pay you. That's not gonna pay the bills, is it? It gotta be white on black. Same thing as police brutality. Very small percentage that it happens. But when it does happen, it's this huge outroar as if it's this huge problem in society. Are there good cops and bad cops? Absolutely. Does it happen? Absolutely. But there are bigger things to worry about than that. And that's what's happening here. It's so frustrating and annoying.
Refuse to just let Nolan Wells' death be in vain. We're going to make sure that we get to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Because
and why would Mississippi State not want the truth? These people have been doing their jobs every single day, and then all of a sudden, snap of a finger that everybody had been called a racist. Everybody apparently is sneaking around and hiding stuff, all because Ben Crump and Al Sharpton went down there and started accusing everybody of a cover-up. And so that is when I immediately was like, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'm sorry. If you truly want justice for your son, these two are the last two people to be the face of your son's case. And so they did the autopsy, and some of y'all are probably already seen the TikTok video that I made, but they did the autopsy. The state did. And the results just came back 2 days ago. They haven't released it yet. But before the results even came back, they didn't raise six figures, right? Ben Crump then started a GoFundMe. That's their favorite thing to do. They just started a GoFundMe, made six figures, all this other stuff. And they said, oh, we're going to conduct a second independent investigation. We're going to do a second autopsy before this autopsy is even over. And what was embarrassing, I can't even play the whole thing. But what was embarrassing is Ben Crump reading off the second autopsy. Why they didn't have an actual medical examiner or what is it called, pathologist up there explaining his findings and reading it, I don't know. I don't know why they embarrassed Ben Crump like that. But he's up there trying to read the second autopsy, and it turns out that there's nothing different in the second autopsy than it is in the first autopsy, because the first autopsy is not complete. And Ben Crump had the audacity to get up there and say, he didn't have a neck. Because the first autopsy, they take the organs out, put it in the bag, weigh it, all that other stuff, and y'all demanded a second autopsy. So you got the body with not much, you know what I mean? Not to get too graphic. But Ben Crump gets up there and he's talking about he had no neck, and everybody went crazy. He had no organs. Everybody went crazy. And I'm like, this is embarrassing to watch. And I just want to play a little bit of it.
Xavier Wells, the body was received after the initial autopsy. He said the body had marked decompensation.
Decompensation? You might be decompensated, but the body ain't decompensating. Excuse me, Ben Crump, what did you say?
He said he said the body had marked decompensation.
I'm gonna end it right there. Ben Crump gets up there in the second autopsy, all of that, and at the very bottom of this all, it says that it was undetermined. Out of all of that, out of all the money they raised, out of spending all this money on the second autopsy, the second autopsy's results was undetermined because they didn't have everything to look at because the first autopsy wasn't complete. And then if you go back and watch this, he's going to talk about, and he had no neck. And the whole audience is like, oh my God. It's like, dude, what are you doing, bro? It's embarrassing. So that happens. So then I start to genuinely look at his mom and dad. And I say, what's going on here, bro? People can only give you so much grace. So much grace and the benefit of the doubt. And it's like, okay, maybe she's grieving. She's just trying to figure out everything. First off, everybody should know the history on Ben Crump and Al Sharpton. Everybody. If you don't, that's just you being, I don't know, irresponsible, naive, because the information is out there that Ben Crump and Al Sharpton are frauds. Trey Reed, did everybody forget about that? We'll get into that just for a little bit. But every time these people were on stage, the mom and the dad, you best believe that Ben Crump and Al Sharpton was right there next to him. And I can't go through absolutely everything, but during his funeral, why is Al Sharpton giving the eulogy? You didn't even know Nolan, bro. I don't know about you. I got 2 sons now. Even if they weren't my son, my family, I'd be down if one of my close family members die, right? Immediate family. And some random come out of left field trying to give out the eulogy, especially not Ben Crump or Al Sharpton. So when I saw that, I said, nah, I can't keep going with this whole the mom is innocent, the dad is innocent. Something's very strange going on. But then this also happened.
2 young white teenagers come.
You don't see Nolan Wells' parents, do you? No, it's somebody else, right?
Pick them up from
I'm showing the correct video. Keep this
their
one.
house. Then and only then residue on the head. Experts, and I believe
There they are. So now this is turned into a group project. No, absolutely not. My son's not involved in your group project. You can figure that out. You can do whatever you want with the other group project you got going on. I'm going to figure out my son because now I see that your attention is not 100% on my son. You're focused on many other things. You got other people. Everybody can't be 100% priority. It doesn't work like that. But when I saw this too, I said, wow. Parents continue to make bad moves. But this was the last one for me. This is what did it for me. And I said, you know what? His parents are definitely turning this into a politicize their son's death and all of that stuff. And there's so many videos, and I can't go through all of them. I'm trying to pull up Nolan Wells. Here we go.
His name, a former officer who is a far right wing, who's been doing the interviews and has been saying, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not even going to comment on Brandon Tatum. No.
What do you think of that, Ben or Elmore or Christine?
Yeah, we are happy with anybody who wants to share the objective to get into the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells.
How? And Brandon Tatum's about to say the same thing. How? You want the truth about what happened to Nolan Wells, but you won't talk to Brandon Tatum, who's talked to the friends? Mind you, the friends reached out to the mom, and the friends' parents reached out to the mom, and the mom is not talking to them. The mom is ignoring everything, but she's going on national TV saying nobody reached out to her. Then she had to go back on TV and retract her statement saying, well, they did reach out because the interviews came out. They did reach out, but I'm grieving and all of that. And I'm like, nobody said you weren't grieving, but that ain't got nothing to do with you lying. But when you go on Don Lemon You're trying to politicize your son's death. I'm just keeping it a buck. You're trying to politicize, capitalize off of it. Because why are you going on certain podcasts, certain shows, and not others? If you truly want to find out the truth of what happened to your son. When you want to go talk to Brandon Tatum, mind you, Brandon Tatum reached out to Ben Crump to talk to him. And then Ben Crump declined that conversation, and he declined on behalf of the parents of talking to Brandon Tatum. So how do you want the truth of what happened to your son if you don't want to talk to the other side? You don't want to talk to Brandon Tatum, who's talked to all of the 4 boys that you're accusing of murder and their parents, and you don't want to talk to Brandon Tatum. You don't even want to talk to those boys at all directly. These are your sons, your dad's sons, best friends. And you don't even want to talk to them. And your parents, the parents are reaching out to you saying, we need to talk. And you don't want to talk to them. Instead, you want to prepare to sue everybody for wrongful death, but you don't want to talk to nobody. So when I saw her get on Don Lemon, I said, yeah, I see what we doing, bro. Don Lemon. Okay. Then again, I come from an unbiased perspective. So let's just say somebody says, well, Brandon Tatum has to, please his bosses. And he's trying to get the perspective of the white boys so they can make it seem like the white people are innocent and all this other stuff. I'm like, okay, let's play that role, right? Brandon Tatum is representing the right and Don Lemon is representing the left. But if your son died, who cares? Who cares? You're only going to go on Democratic or liberal podcasters? Like, you're only going to talk to them? You're not going to talk to Brandon Tatum just because he represents the right? But yet you want the truth of what happened to your son. That shouldn't matter. I don't care about Brandon Tatum, but I do care about the information you may know. One, if you don't want to talk to Brandon Tatum, don't. Talk to Nolan Wells' friends and parents. Talk to your son's friends, best friends and parents that you're accusing them of being a part of the cover-up. That they know something. Then they go on TV talking about somebody knows something. Well, yeah, but you don't want to talk to nobody. You on TV just yelling. And people are trying to talk to you. So you left me no choice but to think that these parents are trying to capitalize off their son's death. And what I want to end on is Trey Reed, because I remember I caught so much heat on TikTok about Trey Reed last year because I was trying to tell everybody how Ben Crump and Al Sharpton was race baiting with that too. And everybody was like, no, no black person does that to themselves. And I'm like, well, no, they do. They do. I know you don't want to believe it, but they do. It happens, unfortunately. And they're like, no black person would do that. White people had to do it. They ruined that entire neighborhood, just like how they ruined in Ocean Springs in Mississippi with this Nolan Wells case. Ben Crump and Al Sharpton ruined that city down there and got everybody looking around, looking at each other crazy because everybody's being called racist. Everybody's being called covering up something for Nolan Wells, all types of stuff. Al Sharpton and Ben Crump did the same thing to Trey Reed's community in Mississippi Delta something. Did the same thing, ruined that community. Had everybody thinking that white boys had to have did something to Trey Reed. We need independent autopsy. We need answers, blah, blah. Well, if you didn't know, it's been a whole year, and Ben Crump, they did a second autopsy, and they went completely ghost on Trey Reed's family. Ghost. They haven't said anything to Trey Reed's family. Mind you, they probably raised money for them too. And they went completely ghost on Trey Reed's family. And Trey Reed's family ended up putting out a statement. It's an entire article. All you do is Google Trey Reed, Ben Crump, and it'll pull up the article about how Ben Crump has ghosted that family. Ben Crump has ruined that city down there from when they went down there and just had race involved with everything. And then they put out this statement. And it says, when it pulls up for me, it says, our family continues to grieve the heartbreaking loss of our beloved Trey Reed, a young man who meant so much to us and to so many others. Since Trey's passing, we have been waiting for answers, specifically the results of the independent autopsy that we were told would help bring clarity to this day. We have not, let me pull it up even more. No. Here, I got a better way. There we go. Since Trey's passing, we have been waiting for answers specifically. Okay, we did that. We were told that would help. Oh, yeah. To this day, we have not received an official update. This lack of communication has only deepened our pain and confusion. We're concerned that our legal representation has been silent during a time when we need transparency, advocacy, and guidance the most. We want to be clear. Our family is not seeking speculation or misinformation. We are seeking the truth. We deserve honesty. We deserve accountability. And most importantly, we deserve the ability to grieve Trey fully and properly with clarity, not unanswered questions. Trey was loved. Trey mattered, and his life deserves the dignity of truth. We ask for continued prayers, respect, and space as we navigate this incredibly difficult time, but we will not stop advocating until we have the answers our family deserves. The Tillman/Reed family. So imagine if you were Trey Reed's mom or family, and Ben Crump is on national TV doing the same thing all over again for Nolan Wells or with Nolan Wells, and he hasn't even responded to your text or call in a long time. And he's already moving on to the next. And he got a group project on stage with all those other boys. I'm laughing because of how disrespectful it is of Ben Crump to be doing this. And nobody catching on to this dude. He had a group project of all these other boys on stage, but Trey Reed family wasn't up there. I can go through this all day. Tamir Rice. Tamir Rice's mom made a video as well that I'm pressing on time, so I can't play it. But Google that, Tamir Rice mom, and then or do Tamir Rice mom Ben Crump, and she talks about then how she had to fire Ben Crump, stop working with him because it seems like it was just a bunch of foolishness. She wasn't getting answers. So many activists around, so many figures around, but no justice. No justice. Nobody being held accountable. When she actually got real lawyers, some of her documents went from 50 pages to 200, 250. Because Ben Crump and them didn't know what they was doing. So when I see people like Nolan Wells' parents getting Ben Crump and Al Sharpton, I'm like, it's not a good look. If you want to look like somebody that's not trying to grift off your child's death, then don't hire those two people because those two people are known to do that. So I don't know, man. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. It's going to get crazy. I'm going to keep following up and try to provide updates when I can. I appreciate y'all for supporting. Hit the like button before you get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. We're on the road to 25K. I love y'all, and I will definitely see y'all on the next one.